Esteemed guests, the Turkey Wealth Fund has played an important role in bringing Turkey to becoming a leading hub of Islamic finance. They have particularly been hitting great milestones in the global Sukuk market. We've been talking about the Sukuk market throughout various panels of this summit, including the very last one that we just listened to. In 2024, the Turkey Wealth Fund successfully completed its $750 million Sukuk issuance, which garnered an unprecedented demand from international investors from all across the globe. And these proceeds have been directed towards strategic investments within the Istanbul Financial Center, where we are today holding this timely summit, to enhance Turkey's financial markets. Our next session is an institutional workshop that is titled Innovative Financing, Turkey Wealth Fund's Sukuk Debut. This session will be led by four esteemed guests that are part of both the Istanbul Financial Center and the Turkey Wealth Fund. We don't have a moderator for this panel, so it is going to be a lot more engaging than what we've seen over the last 24 hours. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome the Director of Financial Affairs at the Turkey Wealth Fund, Mr. Tarık Özer. All right, so our guests are currently being mic'd up right now, but the Director of Financial Affairs at the Turkey Wealth Fund, Mr. Tarık Özer, is ready and here for us. Buyurun efendim. Next is the Director of Legal Affairs at the Istanbul Financial Center, Mr. Hasan Ali Kulak. The Director of International Capital Markets and Project Finance at the Turkey Wealth Fund, Ms. İmge Koç. And last but certainly not least, the Vice President, Attorney at Law at the Turkey Wealth Fund, Ms. Gizem Zeynep Börükbaşı. Buyurun efendim. Over to you.
Welcome everyone on today's panel on Turkey Wealth Fund's pioneering Sukuk Issuance experience. My name is İmge Koç. I'm the head of International Capital Markets and Project Finance Department in Turkey Wealth Fund. We don't have a moderator in this panel, but I will briefly make an introduction and leave the floor to my esteemed colleagues, both from Turkey Wealth Fund and Istanbul Financial Center. I'm excited to guide this interactive session where we will explore the strategic rationale behind the Sukuk issuance, the technical structuring and execution process, legal background and mechanics, lessons learned and practical insights. This panel is designed as a workshop, so we encourage dialogue and we are open to questions from all of our audience here. I will begin the panel with a brief background on Turkey Wealth Fund and a summary of our transaction. Afterwards, each of my colleagues will take the floor in turn to share their first-hand experiences and discuss different aspects of our issuance. TWF was established in 2016 as an asset-backed development fund with a special founding law. It is a key strategic institution to contribute to Turkey's development and economic stability by managing publicly owned assets effectively. We are proud to serve as a significant financial powerhouse, a partner for direct foreign investments, and a dependable provider of equity solutions. The fund is wholly owned by Republic of Turkey, and our chairman of the board is His Excellency President Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdoğan. The current consolidated asset size of the fund is $318 billion as at the end of 2023. Nearly 40% of our companies are publicly traded. As TWF, we operate in various sectors. We can name them as financial services, transportation and logistics, energy, mining, iron and steel, technology and telecommunication, agriculture and food, as well as real estates and licenses. The companies in our portfolio, we call them national champions because they are the most well-known and established companies of Turkey, namely Ziraat Bankası, Vakıfbank, Turkish Airlines, Türk Telekom, Turkcell, and many more. The fund aligns itself with global standards and principles in its operation. We hold membership in various esteemed organizations such as WEF, IFSWF. Our funding sources include project-based or direct borrowing. We have dividends from our portfolio companies. We have rental and royalty incomes. We have returns from asset sales, as well as we can have transfers directly from the government. TWF, as I said, was established by a special founding law, and it is, as you can see, fully owned by the government. The management company of the fund is responsible for the management of TWF, and it is operating under privatization administration, which is the administrative body in the presidency system of Turkey. This entity is controlled by Ministry of Treasury and Finance. As stated, TWF has 3 separate asset classes. We have 32 portfolio companies, we have licenses, and we have real estates, all in Turkey. And under the real estate sector, we have Istanbul financial sector, which is the underlying portfolio in our Sukuk Issuance. As the sole sovereign wealth fund of Turkey, one of our key mandates is to diversify and deepen the financial markets. In line with our mandate, we entered international financing scene with our syndicated loan in 2019. However, accessing international debt capital market is essential to compete worldwide. So back in 2020, we planned our first Eurobond, but market volatility forced us to delay this plan. Instead, we focused on our strategic investments through our portfolio companies. Coming back to 2023, after national elections, the new economic administration and the newly introduced economic program boosted investor appetite towards Turkey. And then, while Turkish corporates and institutions begin tapping the debt capital markets, we saw a great opportunity in DCM space. And after 7 weeks of preparation as TWF, we launched our first Eurobond in February 2024. Our Eurobond had strong investor appetite and record demand, and we set a very good benchmark in the international market. Building on this momentum, after our successful Eurobond, we observed a significant interest from the GCC region, from banks and investors. We identified this as an untapped opportunity in the Islamic financial market, which hasn't been fully utilized up until that point. Up until that point, as I said, only Turkish Treasury and Turkish participation banks had issued international Sukuk from Turkey. Our Sukuk transaction is completed in 2 taps. The first one was $750 million, which was in October, and the second one is followed by $250 million retap in January 2025. With this retap, the total size has reached $1 billion. The proceeds from the Sukuk issuance was directed towards Istanbul Financial Center. For the purposes of the Sukuk, we have structured the transaction around the Sharia-compliant assets held by IFM Company. IFM Company, as the legal owner of the assets, acted both as the obligor and lessee of the Sukuk certificates. Additionally, TWF acted as the guarantor for the Sukuk issuance. The transaction marked a series of records. The order book was 14 times oversubscribed. This is the most oversubscribed Sukuk ever in Turkey, with demand reaching $7 billion from nearly 300 investors. Thanks to this strong demand, the deal closed at a final yield of 6.95, which is reflecting a 70 bips points of tightening from the initial IPTs. This represents the second largest price tightening of 2024 among all bond and sukuk issuances from Turkey, and with our Eurobond issuance holding the first spot. Now I would like to pass the floor to Tarık Bey. He is currently working with us in Turkey Wealth Fund as the Director of Financial Affairs. Before joining us, he was heading IFM's financial affairs and played a key role in coordinating the Sukuk issuance on IFM side. He will provide a detailed information about IFM today, the selection of underlying assets, preparations on IFM side, and the money transfer processes.
Thank you very much, İmge. First of all, I welcome to all participants here. In the beginning, I can say that today I am Financial Affairs Manager Director in Turkey Wealth Fund. But as İmge said, I was in Istanbul Financial Center. So in the beginning, I can say that it is very, very good to be in this project, because if you get a success in this kind of projects, you can, let's say, get promoted from Istanbul Financial Center and Turkey Wealth Fund. So it's an honor for me to be today in Turkey Wealth Fund. I will shortly share with you just a small, a short video of Istanbul Financial Center. If we shortly mention about Istanbul Financial Center, the idea of establishing this center, in fact, the roots of it goes to 2009. And the first strategic document was signed in 2011. So, and in 2020, the company exactly established. So in order to have such a complex thing, you have to share and you have to work for long years. It's not a for a short time planning, it's a long time planning result. And it is located, as you see, strategically at the heart of Istanbul and one of the Turkey's most strategic projects. And in the end, when it is totally opened, the only Istanbul Financial Center will have dollar-based rent revenue, and this will be based from 20% from the shopping malls areas and 80% from office side. And hopefully the project will be completed, inshallah, next year in the first half. And it will be has the value $2.1 billion. But all the financial center area with other banks, the total project has almost $5 billion value. And there will be 100,000 square meter shopping mall, and approximately 350 tenants will be in this shopping mall from different areas and different things. And besides, there is 1.3 million square meter office area, and almost half of it, 500,000, belongs to Istanbul Financial Center. And as you see, there are lots of different companies, and some of them today are active and based on government companies like Vakıf Bank, Ziraat Bankası, Halkbank, Kuvvet Türk, Ziraat Katılım, EPH, and let's say BDDK in Turkish.
Banking authority.
And these are all active now. And in this Sukuk time, in order to be, it should be Sharia compliant, you have to carefully choose which tenants are suitable for this Sharia compliant. And for example, we have faced with such a situation. They ask about EPH, which is English short is exist, Energy Exchange Istanbul. If it is suitable for the Sharia compliant or not, this was a discussion point for us, and in the end we saw that it is suitable, so we could give the building in which EPH is our tenant, and they accept this for this Sharia compliant thing. And for this Sukuk issuance, the other main thing is to work as a team in a whole at the same point of view. For example, when you discuss some issues with especially the lawyer side, my friend Gizem and Hasan Ali will mention more about it, the trade view is very, very important, because if you cannot talk with your lawyers at the same point of view, unfortunately, to finalize the Sukuk documents, because there are lots of documents which are related with different topics, is getting harder and harder and getting longer time. And Imge, please correct me if I am wrong, while issuing this Sukuk, we don't have such a much time, right? We have a short time, and we have to finalize all the documents in this certain time, and at a successful point, like as Imge said, again, there was 14 times demand for this issuance. So not only time, also the key points, to determine key points in a short time is very, very crucial. These are the main things that can I mention about this issuance. Thank you very much.
Now, turning back to Turkey Wealth Fund side, I'm pleased to introduce Gizem Bölükbaşı. She is the Vice President in our Legal and Compliance Department. Gizem Hanım, could you please walk us through the key highlights of the legal work stream? We would also appreciate if you could elaborate on the structure of the Sukuk issuance.
Sure, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. And in this part of the panel, I would like to talk about the key legal consideration in the international Sukuk transaction we had, focusing on structuring the deal, due diligence part, and the role of asset lease companies, basically. In general, mechanism of the Sukuk has three pillars, not specifically by us or in general. Firstly, you need an underlying asset or a project. Second, compliance with Sharia principles are must. What are these? Prohibition of riba, interest, prohibition of excessive uncertainty, garar, and investment in permissible halal activities. And third one is return for the investors. In TWF Sukuk issuance, we have two different Sharia compliance structure in parallel under the same issuance. First one is ijara, and the second one is muraba. I don't know. Because as Imge mentioned, one of the TWF's mandates and strategic goal is reinforce, improvement, and deepen financial markets through the development of alternative financing instruments, including Islamic finance. And this Sukuk issuance is a very good example of that mandate. And using that hybrid mechanism strengthen alternative finance resources in Turkey. Let me walk through our Sukuk structure. At the heart of the structure is the issuer, TWF ALC company, which issues Sukuk certificates to the investors, known as certificate holders. And these investors provide the initial funding. And then structure split into two legs. On the ijara side, the issuer purchases specific assets from the obligor, who is IFC, International Finance Center, and leases them back under a lease agreement. In return, the obligor, IFC, makes rental payments, which ultimately follow back to the investors as a periodic returns. On the muraba side, the issuer sells commodities to the obligor on the deferred payments basis, creating a Sharia-compliant financing agreement. Again, the resulting payments go towards fulfilling the investor returns. To ensure investors' confidence, TWF acts as a guarantor in this structure, backing the obligor's obligations under all the underlying contracts, including the lease, sale, and purchasing undertakings. And this dual-leg approach allows us to align with Islamic financing principles while offering investors a secure, structured, and income-generating products. So I also want to talk about why there has been a legal due diligence in Sukuk issuance in general again. In Sukuk transactions, legal due diligence is not just a regulatory formality. It plays a central role in ensuring both legal robustness and Sharia compliance. Due diligence includes review of constitutional documents of the issuer, financial statements, material contracts, legal disputes and litigation, regulatory licenses and consents. And it ends with management interviews and Q&A sessions. Legal due diligence helps confirm the existence, ownership, and transferability of the assets. This is critical, especially in Sharia structure, where the lease rights and obligations must be clearly documented. And Sukuk investor needs to know the legal, regulatory, and contractual risks related to underlying assets. And the compliance with local laws, international security regulations, and applicable listing rules, particularly when Sukuk is issued under an English law-governed trust certificate structures and listed on exchange such as Euronext or London Stock Exchange. So in a sense, legal due diligence is the backbone of the investor protection and Islamic integrity in a Sukuk deal. And lastly, I also want to talk about why do we establish an asset lease company? What is the logic of that? Why the issuer directly issues? Why don't the issues the certificates directly, but we establish an asset lease company? As I mentioned before, at the heart of the structure is the issuer, the asset lease company or special purpose vehicle, which is typically established by the obligor or its group. In our structure, the ALC is established by TWF, which is also 100% shareholder of IFC. So you may wonder why is not the issued directly not by the obligor. So here are the key reasons. First, bankruptcy remoteness. The SPV acts as a bankruptcy remote entity, so which isolates the Sukuk assets from the originator's balance sheet and helps protect investors if in sponsor phase insolvency, which will not be our case, but I'm talking about general and the logic behind the ALC companies. And the asset holding and leasing. Second reason is to establishing an ALC company's asset holding and leasing. The SPV is the legal owner of the Sukuk assets and enters into lease, ijara or sale, muraba agreements. It ensures the asset of ownership and cash flows are structured clearly and legally. And the ALC acquired title to selected assets, which Hasan Ali Bey will talk about in details, and leased them back to the obligor, in our case to the IFC, and issued certificates to the investors, all while maintaining Sharia and legal compliances. And simultaneously, in our case, purchased commodities from a third-party supplier and sells to the purchased assets to the obligor on a deferred payment basis, added a markup price to the original cost. And the SPV distributes the periodic payments, profit and principal, received from the obligor to the investors as a periodic returns. At the end of the Sukuk tenure, the full markup price is repaid by the obligor and investor receive their capital back. This is the basic structure of our Sukuk deal.
Thank you, Gizem. Now I'd like to bring in Hasan Ali Bey. He's the head of legal affairs in Istanbul Financial Center. Since this was Istanbul Financial Center's first sukuk, the process naturally involved some complexities. Hasan Ali Bey, we would appreciate your insights on key legal points, particularly around asset transfers and KYC processes.
Thank you. Thank you, Imge. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'd like to welcome you all to Istanbul Financial Center as the only member of IFC's management company here. My friends have summarized the situation, actually. I would like to complete their remarks by discussing the challenges we faced, because as Imge expressed at the beginning, Istanbul Financial Center is a non-financial organization, so we are the first obligor and the issuer as being a non-financial. So we had some challenges at the process. I would like to divide my speech into three main headlines. The first one is the complexities of KYC process. And the second one is the foreign currency restrictions. And the last one is the hurdles in real estate transfers to the ALC company. As I mentioned, IFC is a real estate management company. It's not a financial institution. As we all know, KYC is a mandatory process for financial institutions to identify and verify their clients. Its primary purpose is to prevent financial crime. As being a real estate company and an entity of Turkish Wealth Fund, KYC process proved to be extensive and time-consuming for us. Being a real estate company, management company, a non-financial institution, standard KYC procedures often required adoption and clarification. Each financial institution within the consortium, there were 10, I guess, at the consortium, conduct its own KYC process. So it led to varied interpretations for the requirements. For instance, we faced absurd requests like asking the overseas entry and exit records of our authorized signatories. And it took 1 week to convince them. The comprehensive nature of KYC involving the entire company naturally required extensive internal communication. At this point, I would like to thank my colleagues and friends once again for their supportive attitudes. Overcoming these KYC hurdles required persistent communication, detailed explanation, and strong internal coordination. Ultimately, we successfully completed the due diligence process, paving the way for Sukuk Issuance. The second and the main hurdle we faced was the foreign currency restrictions. As you may know, under Turkish law, residents are generally prohibited from stipulating the real estate agreements and payment obligations in foreign currency. However, there is a significant exception in capital markets legislation. A communique from the Capital Markets Board allows capital markets instruments to be denominated and issued in foreign currency, and for obligations related to them to be stipulated in foreign currency. While real estate transfer prices typically had to be in Turkish liras, international investors required foreign currency indexed payments. To resolve this conflict, we sought an opinion from the Ministry of Treasury and Finance. After extensive discussions with Ministry, we received permission to determine the contract price and payment obligations for Sukuk issuances as foreign currency indexed. However, this permission only pertained to the agreement executed between the parties. the amount on the title deeds still had to be reflected in Turkish lira. As a result, while the valuation of the real estate subject to sukuk and the contract appendices are now in foreign currency, and the payment obligations are determined accordingly, the title deed transfer amounts are converted to Turkish lira at the central bank exchange rate on the date of application to the Land Registry Office. From my perspective, this dual approach actually complies with Turkish law while accommodating the foreign currency requirements of international investors. This was the key of our success from my point of view. And the last, streamlining real estate title transfers was our last hurdle. After resolving the initial issue, we faced completing the title transfers for 186 properties to the ALC company within a limited time of 10 days. I would like to summarize how the process goes. Normally, you have to apply online to the office, Land Registry Office. You take a message at least the second day of your application. Then you made your payments. You go to office, sign the documents, and take your deeds. However, we are talking about 186 different properties. This means we had been making individual applications, which would have been impossible to be finished in 10-day deadline. To address this, we discussed this situation with Land Registry Office and received a permission to submit applications in groups of 10. This bulk application method significantly reduced the administrative burden. Even for a small group of 4 people, it took more than 5 hours to complete the application. From the perspective of Land Registry Office, instead of preparing 186 individual contracts, this grouping strategy allowed for the preparation of only 19 contracts. International sukuk issuances in Turkey based on real estate certainly present unique challenges. However, we have seen that with the right strategies, collaboration with regulatory bodies and strong teamwork, these hurdles can be removed. As I mentioned before, the dual approach we received from the ministry was the key to the successful completion of the transaction. Thank you.
Can I add something to your speech? For example, at KYC process, one of the well-known companies, we are asking them, how can you classify our company in your system? And we couldn't get answer from them. Even they couldn't get reply this question, right?
Yeah.
So we have lost 1 or 2 days. And also, as far as I remember, in Land Registry Office, the person who is related with this trade registry was ill or we couldn't find him. So we have had to wait again 1 or 2 days. In this whole process, everything is, sometimes you cannot calculate the person, you cannot calculate and cannot know the situation, how it changed. So this was some of the cases we faced.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Hasan Ali Bey. To wrap up on this final slide, you can see the full transaction timeline. I will not go each and every step from initial board decision through the settlement. But I would like to highlight some important steps for us. One thing that I would like to mention is the non-deal roadshow and the deal roadshow. This was an essential step in our Sukuk issuance. First, we did a non-deal roadshow. We engaged with the investors and we gathered their initial feedback before going out for the announcement. And after the NDR, we conducted in-person meetings both in GCC region and in London, and as deal roadshow. And this is very much important, especially if you're in the Islamic finance markets where direct communication are highly valued. The establishment of the ALC and the transfer of the underlying assets, my colleagues also mentioned them, added unique structuring layers that are not part of usual conventional Eurobond issuances, which had to be dealt with careful diligence. All of these steps highlight both the complexity and the strategic opportunity that Sukuk provides in diversifying funding sources and broadening investor reach. And lastly, if you are working on a tight timeline like we did, it is essential that all work streams are coordinated and operated simultaneously. And with this, I would like to thank my colleagues here and other colleagues in Turkey Wealth Fund and IFM company. We are very proud to successfully finalize this transaction and set a benchmark in Turkey's Sukuk market. Thank you to all our panelists for sharing their valuable insights and experiences. Now I think we can have two questions from the audiences if they would like to ask us anything to the panelists.
Thank you very much. It's really very insightful discussion and great to see IFC and the Sukuk market flourishing here. I think everybody is looking at Istanbul and Turkey as a center for Islamic finance. I have two questions here. One about IFC. Most of the financial centers, they have fintechs and the box accelerators and so on. You mentioned this on real estate. Mm-hmm. So do you have anything about plans to have a fintech ecosystem? You license fintechs or you help fintechs part of this, because this is very important for even fintechs coming from other markets which would like to come and work with you. That's one for you. And for the Sukuk, I need to ask, I think there is a new IOFI standards which was debatable. I would like to ask you, are you implementing this one? Do you have any thoughts about it? That's the two questions. Thank you very much and very well done from all of you. Thank you.
Let me take the first one. I'm not sure if you had any chance to travel around the IFC.
Not yet, but it's very nice. from far, from
it's
up.
Totally 1,100,000 square meter office buildings.
Yes.
We have 3 different areas actually. We are now in the second one, which is banking area.
Okay.
And the one at the left side when you go out is fintech zone.
Phoenix. Okay.
Yeah, fintech zone, which we are now planning to incorporate Technopark at that zone. So I am sure that fintech, it will be a special area for fintech companies, national or international. So in 2026, I guess, it will start its operations.
Thank you so much. That's good. I have a company called Fintech Bazaars, like Egyptian Bazaar you have here as well. So can
yeah,
be
it will be our pleasure to meet you there.
Yeah, thank you.
I can answer shortly. So we are in contact with the banks from the region, GCC region, and also we are in contact with the legal advisors in the region. What I heard of is it is still uncertain. There's still uncertainty in the standards. How will it finalize? We don't know. But I think that's my opinion and hope. It will not jeopardize future transactions.
And this is what we are looking for.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, I understand. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, it seems like we've come to the end of that panel discussion. The Turkey Wealth Fund, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for that insightful discussion. Of course, as we've done with every panel discussion, we'd like to offer a small note of appreciation to each and every one of you. I'd like to welcome to the stage one of our sponsors of the Al-Baraka Summit, the 5th panel sponsor, in fact, with Ayhan Hukuk, the founder. I'd like to welcome Namık Ayhan, Mr. Namık Ayhan, to the stage, please. We'd like to offer our first certificate to the Director of Financial Affairs at the Turkey Wealth Fund, Mr. Tarık Özer. Now, the Director of Legal Affairs at the Istanbul Financial Center, Mr. Hasan Ali Kulak. the Director of International Capital Markets and Project Finance at the Turkey Wealth Fund, Ms. İmge Koç. And the Vice President Attorney at Law at the Turkey Wealth Fund, Ms. Gizem Zeynep Bölükbaşı. And I'd like all of you to go to the front and center of the stage for one last family photo. Thank you very much to all of our esteemed participants. I appreciate it. Esteemed guests, we are now nearing the end of the second day of the Global Islamic Economy Summit in Istanbul, but we have one very interactive and important session left to listen to. Our experts have time and time again stressed on the importance of investing in startups, but of course the work doesn't just end there. It doesn't end with just investing. What are the strategies of Islamic entrepreneurship, and how do you sustain success in startups? To get more insight on that, I'd like to begin our public workshop. Please join me in welcoming the moderator, the president of the Islamic Cooperation Youth Forum, Mr. Taha Ayhan. Hoş geldiniz. Joining Mr. Ayhan is the Secretary General of Salih Kamil Sustainable Entrepreneurship and Enterprise Development Organization, Dr. Wael El-Dasuki.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. The floor is yours, Mr. Ayhan.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Dear Excellencies, dear distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege for me to be among you today. And I'm also very excited to hear the speech and be the witness of this workshop, because it's one of the main areas of activity of ICYF for the betterment of the youth in economic terms. And again, in behalf of ICYF, welcome to the second Al-Barkah Summit, second Global Islamic Finance Summit in Istanbul. First of all, I want to give a very brief information about the Islamic Cooperation Forum. The Islamic Cooperation Forum is privileged to once again serve as a strategic partner to the Al-Barkah Summit, continuing a valid collaboration that reflects our shared commitment to promoting Sharia-compliant innovation, youth empowerment, and inclusive economic development across the Islamic world. Today, we meet at a time when several OIC countries are emerging as dynamic startup hubs. Turkey is a leading one, of course, and also the Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Malaysia, Indonesia are witnessing a surge in venture capital investments and high-impact entrepreneurial initiatives, particularly in fintech, halal e-commerce, agri-tech, and sustainable technology. For example, in 2024 alone, OIC-based startups attracted over $3 billion in disclosed funding, showcasing the growing confidence of global investors in the Islamic innovation ecosystem. From Turkey's flourishing digital infrastructure to Malaysia's leadership in Islamic fintech, and from Indonesia's vibrant health consumer market to the Emirates' startup-friendly regulatory landscape, these success stories are a testament to the transformative potential of Islamic entrepreneurship when aligned with strategic planning, ethical governance, and cross-sectoral collaboration. In this context, our workshop today aims to contribute to the vision of today's forum, strategies of Islamic entrepreneurship and startups for sustained success. Today, entrepreneurship is both a necessity and a powerful driver of economic change. In this workshop, we will explore how Sharia-aligned approaches to innovation, financing, team building, and growth can create value in an ethical and effective way. And today we have a guest, Dr. Wael El-Dasuki, one of the prominent figures in OIC geography in startups and entrepreneurship area. Dr. Wael El-Dasuki, the Secretary General of the Salih Kamil Sustainable Entrepreneurship and Enterprise Development Organization. Dr. Wael Bey brings extensive experience in both theory and practice at the intersection of Islamic economic thought and enterprise development. I'm very excited to hear his speech. So, dear Dr. Floor is yours, please.
Thank you so much. And thank you very much for the introduction. Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahim. I'm very pleased to be here on this panel with Your Excellency, Mr. Taha, as the president of the ICYF. And I really, I'm very happy with the impact you're doing at ICYF, whether in Turkey or outside of Turkey, across the Muslim world. Real big impact, mashallah, for youth development and empowerment. So thank you very much. And inshallah, this session, I know it's the last one, and it's a very long day. Today we started at 10, so almost 6 hours now. But this session is quite different because many people are talking about entrepreneurship and Islamic financing and entrepreneurship. But is there anything else beside financing and riba-free financing for startups? Yes, there are many considerations to take care of when running a company or a startup. When I say startup, I don't mean a small company. A startup could be $100 million value-weighted company. But the thing is, starting something could be innovative, using technology, maybe fintech, deep tech, health tech, prop tech, this kind of innovative business models. But in the beginning, allow me to give you a quick introduction about myself and about Succeed. Succeed is a newly established organization, actually under establishment, as an international entrepreneurship organization affiliated to the Islamic Chamber of Commerce and Development. Inshallah, it will be based in Malaysia. For the purpose of entrepreneurship development across the OIC countries. So our mandate, our aim is to develop this vertical across the OIC countries, to provide a kind of platform to connect entrepreneurs from east to west, entrepreneurs from Indonesia to Saudi Arabia and from Nigeria to Cairo. So I mean, this is one of our main purposes. In addition to that, we also want to focus on entrepreneurship support organizations like incubator managers, accelerator managers, university-based entrepreneurship centers. What are the best practices to run an entrepreneurship program? What is the best practice to benefit entrepreneurs and startups and so on? Working with policy makers to have a kind of exchanging knowledge and best practices on the policies and regulations for developing entrepreneurship ecosystem across the OIC. The title of this workshop is Islamic Entrepreneurship, Strategies for Islamic Entrepreneurship. And usually when someone says Islamic entrepreneurship, it comes to your mind the word halal or halal business, right? So halal business, yes, it is one pillar of Islamic entrepreneurship, but not only halal, but and not only Islamic financing or Sharia compliant financing. So this kind of fintech and health tech and platforms or startups that requires financing alternatives. But Islamic entrepreneurship is related to every single part of the business. I will show you how this is highly needed, and all entrepreneurs need to consider every single aspect of the company or of the business. Is it Sharia compliant or not? This is a very famous platform to grow businesses. It's called Growth Wheel. It's similar to the business model, but I personally believe that this is a very efficient platform to scale, to advise, and to consult startups, because every single company, regardless of the maturity of the company, they need to have a very smart and brilliant and innovative business concept. And they need to have a strong organization in terms of team, founding team, boards, board of director, board of advisor, and so on. And they need to have a strong customer relationship, marketing, branding, and strong operations. So this is the 4 pillars of the business. In every single pillar, from those pillars, there are numerous considerations or Islamic considerations related to the business. For example, the business concept. any business idea, there are many parts of the idea, like the business idea, product portfolio, revenue model, and in addition to many others. If you look at this model, you will see that there are many Islamic considerations to each one of them. If you look at the business idea, for example, the intention to do business, your compass, your intention, it could be a positive. I'm not talking about haram businesses because this is very obvious and everyone knows that. Avoid doing a non-halal business but I'm talking about the intention. For the product portfolio, the product, the SKUs or the items that you're selling or your company is selling, the product and the product ingredients. When I say ingredients, I'm not only concerned with the clear ingredients, the food additives, the colorings, the value chain. There are many parts in the value chain that make a product halal or not halal, not only the finished product. And also the packaging. In some cases, some people, for branding purposes, they put very positive or over-promising in their packaging. It's like your oil lowers cholesterol. Does it really lower cholesterol? Is this an honest promise or not? So in some cases, we need to take care of what's written on the package. It must be 100% honest, 100% true. Otherwise, this might not be a halal business. And by the way, some people do it for the purpose of this is what business needs. This is what customers are looking for. So we have to be compatible with the market. But you have to be honest as well, and you have to be to avoid any kind of deceptive messages or for the revenue, for the business revenue, where you're making money. Definitely revenue, I'm not talking about interest or riba, I'm talking about unclear discount policy or honest discount policy, hidden charges or hidden fees, late payments. You know, this kind of uncommon fees that you don't know until you buy the product, and you find unexpected fees or discounts or penalties. This is not encouraged according to Islamic rules in business. And monopoly, abuse. I'm not talking about monopoly in general. I'm talking about the bad usage of monopoly. The second part is the business organization, and here I'm concerned with the team, the co-founders, the founding team, the boards, the board of directors, the governance of the company. How Sharia is looking at this part of the business. So, for example, there are many things related to the boards and ownership, many things related to employees, to partnerships, legal issues, business processes, and every single part of this pillar, there are many considerations or many aspects that we have to take care of. So, for example, ownership and board. What kind of ownership between founders and co-founders? Is it musharaka? Is it mudaraba? And if you have, founders, they have to be aware of the different forms of partnerships and what works and what doesn't work. So if it's a mudaraba, for example, if the company makes profits, it will be allocated based on the equity. But if the Rabb al-Mal or the investor if the company loses money, who loses the money? Rabb al-Mal. Al-Mudarib, or the guy who's running the company or managing the company and is not investing, is not sharing in loss. So and the governance. Many companies, they lack the at-tadqiq, or being very, I would say, very selective when it comes to Sharia governance. Do they have a Sharia governance or Sharia audit committee, or at least a Sharia consultant to make sure that all the operations, all the business aspects, the logistics, the funding sources, the financial, everything in the company is according to Sharia or not? So this is something related to the ownership and board. Employees. Having this kind of ethical HR practices, like no discrimination, fair compensation, paying their salaries on time, I mean, this looks very normal, and it's something it should be done by default. But unfortunately, in some cases, or some companies, they consider maybe delaying payments or not only salaries or suppliers, paying suppliers. It's a process of cash flow utilization, cash flow optimization. But actually, is this ethical or not? And so it's not encouraged according to Sharia. And I'm not saying halal or haram. I'm not mufti, but I mean, at the end of the day, this is not an ethical practice. This is not, according to Islam, this is not one of the encouraged practices. It could be haram, of course, and it might be legal issues. Having some clauses in the contract that are not Sharia compliant. Maybe the process is Sharia compliant, the process is fine, is halal, but some terms like unclear terms, it make it, you might have a kind of gharar in the contract, or maybe penalty causes. In some cases, the penalty is not relevant to the contract, or maybe penalty for late delivery. Again, according to Sharia, this is not encouraged as well. There are always ways to solve the business solutions and to improve the business operations, but we have to take care of the non-Sharia compliant clauses. A third part, which is very important, and every single company to be successful, they have to take care of, which is customer relations and marketing and branding. So when it comes to networking, marketing, sales, branding, public relations, again, they have to take care of what is compatible with Sharia and what is not. So for example, deceptive advertising, it's very similar to the packaging thing. In some advertisements, they claim, or exaggeration in their claims or the brand promise, and this is not. And in some cases, they have this, what they call psychological manipulation. Messages in the advertising that is addressing the subconscious of the consumer, or subliminal messages, subliminal advertising. Again, this is not ethical, and this is because the message is not direct, the message is not honest, the message is not clear. Exaggeration is not encouraged. In the sales process, some hidden fees, some upselling, but the coercive upselling. You need to buy this, and afterwards you'll discover that you must buy other products to be able to use your product. Or warranty clauses that are not clear and not specific. And the final aspect of the business is the business operations. And when I say operation, I'm talking about financials, I'm talking about funding, I'm talking about production, I'm talking about facilities and IT systems. Even IT systems, there are some considerations related to the IT systems. So for example, the financials, is there any revenue coming from a non-halal source, like loan, interest, riba, or that? Are you paying the zakat? Are you calculating your zakat correct or not? Is there any kind of delayed payments to the suppliers? For the funding, and this is very important because in startups, usually entrepreneurs, they look for equity financing. So they get their money from accelerators, from angel investors, from venture capital fund. And usually, this is a very clear relationship, direct relationship. They get investment against equity.